Life cycles. All animals have male and female parents, just like us. But not all animals reproduce or have babies in the same way. Birds and some fish, reptiles, and amphibians lay eggs. Other animals, such as mammals, like us human beings, we're mammals, give birth to their youngs. So these are some examples of fish. These are some reptiles, and these are some amphibians. So these three species give birth by laying eggs, not by giving birth like mammals do. A baby ostrich will hatch from an egg. So this is the baby ostrich. It hatches from an egg. And once it grows up, it will find a mate to lay more eggs. So this is the egg, this is the baby ostrich, and then this is an adult ostrich. This female ostrich will find a male ostrich to make new babies like these. A lynx will find a mate and give birth to pups, which depend on their mother for food. Just like us when we are babies, we cannot produce food for ourselves. We need our mommies. And pups do, baby lynx. So this is a baby lynx, and this is an adult lynx. This is a female lynx which is also pregnant. Her babies are in her body. Now let's be more specific and learn about frog's life cycle. As a frog develops, its entire appearance changes. Everything about the frog's life cycle, each stage is different from the stage before. A frog goes through a series of changes after it hatches as a tadpole. Metamorphosis is a major change. Major means huge or big in the baby form of an animal during its life cycle. So the metamorphosis is when a baby animal changes a lot during its life cycle. Each stage is different from the other stage. This is what metamorphosis is. A tadpole is an immature frog. Immature means not mature frog, baby frog that must live in the water. This tadpole has to live in water. It hatches from an egg. It has gills, just like fish. They have gills on their heads so they can breathe underwater, and a tail. It breathes and swims like a fish. So it looks just like a fish. It doesn't look like a frog. It's very different from its parents. These are examples of tadpoles. So this is the tail of the tadpole, and this is the head. And here you can see a semicircle on its head. You'll find that these are the gills of the tadpole. Does it look like a frog? It looks nothing like a frog. This is why we say the life cycle of a frog is a metamorphosis. After about 5 weeks, the tadpole starts to change. It grows a little hind legs. Hind means back. So after a few weeks, this tadpole grows 2 hind legs or back legs. Then, as a tadpole, the young frog develops 4 legs. So the first stage is the egg, then the tadpole, then tadpole with back legs, then tadpole with 4 legs. Its tail will soon disappear. It starts shrinking until it vanishes or disappears. And its lungs are almost completely developed. So the baby frog or the tadpole uses its gills. So it doesn't need any lung to breathe because it breathes underwater. But once this tadpole starts to grow, the lung of this tadpole grows bigger and bigger. Finally, the frog has fully developed lungs and legs. It's an adult. So this is a tadpole with hind legs or back legs. And this is a tadpole with 4 legs. And you can see the tail is getting shorter. And now its body is becoming more thicker and wider. This is because the lungs are growing inside its body. You can see here, this is a frog life cycle. Again, we're saying cycle because it happens again and again. So the first stage is eggs, the second one is a tadpole with a tail, and later on the hind legs will start appearing, later on forelegs, and finally there's no tail, a huge developed adult frog. So we spoke about frog's life cycle. Now we start with the insect's life cycle. We will see some differences between the frog and the insects. Most insects undergo metamorphosis as they develop into adults. So this means that the insects, the baby insects, are not like the adult insects because we're saying metamorphosis. Ladybugs and butterflies go through complete metamorphosis, which means that there are 4 stages in their life cycle. So butterflies and ladybugs have 4 stages in their metamorphosis or their life cycle. That's why it's called complete metamorphosis. In the second stage of complete metamorphosis, a larva hatches from its egg. So we're saying that larva is the second stage, so the first stage is the egg. This is an example of larva. This is the second stage. So first egg, then the larva. During the third stage of complete metamorphosis, so this is the third stage, the larva becomes a pupa. These are examples of pupa. The insect does not move as it slowly changes into adult. Sometimes when you're out in the gardens or you can see trees and some grass, you can see shapes like these. Maybe some of you get disgusted or scared, but these are actually, this is a pupa. This is a baby insect that's growing into an adult insect, and it doesn't move. It stays still until it grows up completely. In both of these stages, the insect looks very different from the adult. So we're talking about the stage, the larva and the pupa. Both of these stages are completely different, and you can see it in the pictures. Complete metamorphosis of butterfly. Let's go dig deeper in complete metamorphosis. As we said, complete means 4 stages in the life cycle of the insect. The first stage is the egg. That's 1. You can count with me. The second stage is larva. The third stage is pupa. And the fourth stage is the adult butterfly. So these are 4 stages, and each stage, the insect looks completely different. Some insects, such as grasshoppers, go through incomplete metamorphosis. Incomplete is the opposite of complete. After they hatch from eggs, these insects look very much like the adults. So step 1, egg. When these insects hatch from eggs, these baby insects look just like their parents. They're not so different. They also go through changes as they grow, but this doesn't mean that the baby insect is the last stage. No, there are other stages. But the way they look does not change. There is no big or huge difference between the baby insect or the baby grasshopper and the adult grasshopper. Grasshoppers get bigger and grow wings as they reach adulthood. Incomplete metamorphosis, life cycle of a grasshopper. So let's count first and go into details. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3. So incomplete metamorphosis is about 3 stages. The first stage is egg. This is a nymph or a baby grasshopper, and the adult grasshopper. We can see that the differences are not really big. Only the size of this nymph is different than the adult, and the color is a bit different. And there is also one more different, the wings, because the adult grasshopper grows wings. Why it matters? Now we will talk about something called diversity. What's the meaning of diversity? Every living thing is different. So I'm different than you, you're different from your dad or sister or cousin or whatever. Even young that have the same parents are not the same. So if you go to your brother or sister and you look at each other, you'll find that there will be few differences between you and your siblings. You're not exactly the same, and you don't exactly look like your mom and dad. This is called diversity. Diversity is the different characteristics, and it's what makes everyone different or special from one another. That's why every human being or every living thing is special, because we're not all the same. This is called diversity. Let's take an example. Think about a family of dogs. Even though they have the same parents, each puppy might have different colored fur. They get different features from each parent, from their parents. So maybe one's fur is going to be black and white. Another dog will be white. A third one would be golden, let's say. And here's a better example. Let's look at this mommy dog and these baby dogs. If you look closer, you will find that these siblings are not all the same. If you look closer, you'll find that some are brown, others are white and black, others are completely black. This is called diversity. So let's go to the summary. Number 1, all animals have the male and the female parents. That's a must. Every animal has a male parent and a female parent. But not all animals reproduce or make babies in the same way. Metamorphosis is a major change or a big change in the body of an animal during its life cycle. There are 2 types of metamorphosis: incomplete, which has only 3 stages, and complete, which has 4 stages. Every living thing is different. Even young that have the same parents are not the same. This is called diversity. So diversity, or different characteristic, is what makes everyone different from one another. So there you go. This is our second science lesson. What are some life cycles of animals? I hope it was easy. You can always go back through the previous slides and remember the lesson information. Thank you for sticking around.